I never thought I'd be telling this story. Honestly, I used to think hell was just a metaphor, something religious people use to scare others into obedience. I believed in living my truth, in doing what felt right for me. And when I made that decision, the one that changed everything, I convinced myself it was my body, my choice, and nothing more. But I was wrong, dead wrong. What I saw the moment my soul left my body will stay with me forever. It wasn't just fire. It wasn't just pain. It was regret, living, breathing regret, screaming all around me. And the souls. So many souls. Each one paying the price for choices they thought were harmless. I saw where I was headed. I saw where others already were. And I came back for one reason, to warn you. Because stories like this aren't just shocking. They're necessary. They awaken something deep inside. Fear, yes, but the kind of fear that saves. The kind that pulls you back before it's too late. So if you've ever wondered what happens after we die, if you've ever felt that chill when someone mentions eternity, stay with me. What you're about to hear may disturb you, but it might also be the one thing that saves your soul. But before I continue, let me remind you, if you're ready to face the truth, make sure you are subscribed, because you don't want to miss what's coming next. This could change everything. Have you ever followed someone online who made you question everything you once believed was sacred? She wasn't just popular. She was magnetic, intoxicating in the way only someone with a gift for deception can be. Her smile, impossibly flawless. Her voice, like honey laced with fire. Every word she spoke felt like liberation. But it was a slow, seductive poison. You've probably seen women like her. The kind who walk into a room, or rather appear on a screen, and instantly shift the energy. Confident, loud, unapologetically bold. She didn't just influence trends, she shaped mindsets. She didn't just post pictures, she planted seeds. Seeds that grew into belief systems. Ones that looked like freedom but were carefully designed to pull hearts further and further from truth. She mocked modesty, called purity a joke, and labeled conviction as emotional abuse. Your body, your rules wasn't just her tagline, it was her gospel. She preached that guilt was a prison, and that shame was an invention of controlling religion. And people listened. Millions. They liked, they shared, they followed. Young women reshaped their lives around her worldview. They copied her style, her tone, her defiance. To many, she wasn't just an influencer. She was a liberator. A prophetess of self-love and sensuality. But what you're about to discover now may shatter that illusion forever. Because when I saw her again, it wasn't on a screen. It was in hell. Not glowing, not powerful, not adored, but screaming. Trapped in a long corridor lined with burning mirrors. Each mirror didn't reflect her face. No, they showed the faces of those she led astray. Teen girls. Single mothers. Lonely souls who believed her lies. And behind every face was a scream. Raw, tormented cries of souls spiraling into depression, confusion, sexual brokenness. She clawed at the mirrors, begging them to stop. But they wouldn't. Because in that realm, influence never dies. Echoes. It multiplies. And every ripple of her rebellion had chained her deeper into her own torment. I saw her hands, once manicured, now scorched, reaching for a door that would never open. Her skin blistered endlessly, her voice hoarse from pleading. But the flames weren't the worst part. No, it was the knowing. The knowing that every liberating message had become a noose around another soul's neck. That her rebellion was now her prison. And the demons, they didn't torture her with whips. They whispered her own quotes back to her. Over and over. Guilt is just religion trying to control you. There's no such thing as sin. Do what makes you happy. Their voices mocked her as she broke down in endless regret. This is what the Bible warned us about. In Matthew 18 verse 6, Jesus said, "But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." She hadn't just sinned. She had led others into sin. She lit the path to hell for thousands. And now she walks it alone. Revelation 21 verse 8 calls this the second death, the lake of fire for the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the sexually immoral, and all liars. And she had lied, not just with words, but with a life that told people God was a myth, that holiness was oppression, and that sin was freedom. Hell isn't just punishment. It's the full consequence of what we choose to believe, promote, and become on earth. And her agony, her endless agony, was the echo of every post, every video, every soul she led into darkness. You may have seen her face before, but what you haven't seen is what I saw. And I'm telling you now, so you never have to. Because influence doesn't stop when the screen goes dark. Influence survives death. And when I died, when I crossed that invisible line between this world and the next, I saw her again. Not in a glamorous photo shoot or on a red carpet. Not in a TED Talk or a viral reel. I saw her where no spotlight reaches, in hell. You're probably wondering how I ended up there. And yes, I'll get to my story. But first you need to understand what I saw. Because what I witnessed wasn't just one soul in torment. It was the aftermath of influence. It was the ripple effect of seductive lies. It was her face, once idolized, now twisted in a scream, trapped in a place she never warned her followers about. She used to say purity was a chain, a prison built by outdated minds afraid of freedom. She declared shame to be a curse imposed by fear, a weight no one should bear. Sin, she claimed, was nothing but an old-fashioned label, an illusion meant to control. Her voice echoed on earth like a siren's call, tempting countless souls to follow her path of rebellion, pride, and denial. But down there, in the merciless realm where fire never ceases and echoes of torment ring through endless darkness, it wasn't her flesh that burned. No, it was far worse. It was her legacy, her very influence on others, that was consumed by an unquenchable flame. The fire did not just scorch her skin. It burned her soul, searing every lie she had preached, every soul she had led astray. The freedom she once boasted about became chains forged in the hottest hellfire. The prison was not of iron or stone, but of eternal regret and unbearable isolation, as the Apostle Paul warned in 2 Thessalonians 1 verse 9. They will suffer the punishment of eternal destruction, away from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might. And the most terrifying truth: she was not alone. Around her, the damned wailed in agonizing chorus. Those who lived as she did, who cast aside God's warnings and scorned the light of truth. There was the man who mocked the poor and exploited the weak, now chained to his greed. The woman who used her beauty to seduce and destroy, now trapped in a burning pit reflecting her lust. The proud preacher who preached lies for gain, now silent in eternal darkness. Each soul's torment reflected the sins they embraced on earth. A personalized horror crafted by their own choices. The screams of despair and the gnashing of teeth are no mere stories. They are echoed in the words of Jesus himself in Matthew 13 verse 42, where he describes hell as a furnace of fire, a place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. These are not just warnings. They are realities for those who reject the narrow path of salvation. As her cries fade into the endless night, one chilling thought remains. The freedom she sought became her eternal prison, and her choices on earth sealed her fate forever. Have you ever felt like the world is pushing you to let go of what's right, in the name of what's real? Stay with me until the end, because this story isn't just about her. It's about all of us. It's about the voices we let shape our souls, the truths we trade for comfort, and the consequences no one wants to talk about. In hell there are no filters, no followers, no viral hits. There are only mirrors. Mirrors that show the lives you've touched, the souls you've misled. And in her corridor of mirrors, every face was a consequence. But it wasn't just her I saw. There was another soul, buried deeper in that place of endless torment, someone even more unexpected. And it was their story. That's where everything began to unravel and finally make sense. She was a nurse, not a villain, not a monster, just tired, practical, logical, the kind of person who smiled politely while clutching a clipboard, always in a hurry, forever behind on paperwork. I saw her in hell, not screaming like the others, not writhing in flames, but frozen, silent, paralyzed amidst a sea of anguished cries that weren't her own, yet were echoes of the lives she'd once ignored. She worked in a sterile clinic, the kind with cold, impersonal rooms and soft, masking music where hushed choices were made and unasked questions buried deep beneath the surface. She told herself she was helping, that it wasn't her place to judge, that she was simply doing her job, a cog in a system that demanded efficiency over compassion, procedure over conscience. But here, in the heart of that eternal abyss, she was forced to relive every moment, every heartbeat she stilled, every silent dismissal of a trembling soul pleading for mercy, not because she hated life, but because she had turned off her own conscience to survive the grinding routine. The Bible warns us in Ezekiel 33 verse 6, "If you do not warn the wicked to turn from their ways, they will die for their sin, but you will be held accountable." She was held accountable. Here, the souls she dismissed knew her name, their suffering etched into her eternal punishment. And that numbness, the cold armor she wore so well on earth, had become unbreakable chains. Chains forged from apathy and silence, binding her in a prison darker than any flame. No light, no rest, just the endless weight of regret and the echoing cries of those she abandoned. It shook me to my core, not just because of what she had done, but because of how terrifyingly familiar she seemed, how painfully normal. She could have been any one of us, any face in the crowd. I know this is hard to hear. It was hard for me too. But the truth carries a heavy weight. And sometimes it takes seeing what no one wants to see, stepping into the shadows where most refuse to look, to finally understand the cost of silence and indifference. As Revelation 21 verse 8 starkly reminds us, "But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulfur." Not all who perish in that lake are villains. Some are those who chose to look away, who refused to speak, who ignored the cries of the innocent. Her story is a warning, because the choices we make or refuse to make echo far beyond our brief time on earth. If something in this story stirred something in you, even if it's just confusion or anger, or the ache of a memory you thought was buried, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment. Tell me what hit you hardest, what made you think, or what you've been carrying alone that needs a voice. Because this isn't just my story, it's ours. And when you share what touched you, you help others find courage to do the same. Like this video if this message matters to you. It might seem like a small gesture, but it tells the platform that these stories are worth spreading, worth being heard. And if you want to keep uncovering what lies beyond the surface of life and death, if you want to walk with us through more stories that confront the silence, then subscribe. This channel exists because of people like you. People who are willing to look deeper. People who don't turn away from hard truth. Your voice, your presence, your participation, it's what keeps this message alive, and helps it reach someone who might be one video away from awakening. Then there was the boyfriend, the one who paid for silence. I recognized the look in his eyes. I had seen it in real life. Fear dressed as love. On earth he said it was her decision. But behind closed doors, he pressured her, guilted her, told her they weren't ready. And when she cried on the bathroom floor afterward, he pretended everything was fine. In hell, he stood frozen in front of a mirror that replayed the same scene over and over. The day he gave her the money and walked away. His chains weren't on his wrists. They came from the reflection, the one that never stopped watching him, never let him forget. One soul I didn't expect to see was a famous writer, a woman who had built a platform teaching millions of young women how to unlearn shame. Her books were bestsellers. She spoke of freedom, of liberation from patriarchal guilt. She told her followers that the voice telling them something was wrong wasn't God. It was religion trying to control them. She had charisma, power, influence. But now, she was surrounded by books that wouldn't burn. Pages that screamed. On each page, a story of a girl who read her words and made a decision. And now, every word she'd ever written had become a testimony against her. Then came the pastor. His face was familiar, the kind you see on billboards, smiling with confidence. His sermons were passionate, full of emotion but hollow. He used grace as a license. He would say things like, "God understands your struggle, and no one's perfect." But he never preached repentance, never spoke of surrender. And in hell, he stood on a stage that crumbled beneath him, his own words echoing back like curses. "God understands," they mocked. "God understands." But what God understood was his heart, the games he played, the truths he avoided. Flames licked the corners of his Bible, pages curling not from fire, but from the weight of the lies he taught. Next I saw a mother, proud one, the kind who always wanted the best for her daughter, but by her definition of best. When her daughter said she was scared, the mother said, "We can't let this ruin your life." When the girl hesitated, she arranged everything, drove her, waited in the car. Her daughter cried afterward and the mother said, "It's over now, move on." But in hell, the cries hadn't stopped. The mother sat in a nursery full of empty cribs, each one a memory she tried to suppress. And the daughter, I didn't see her, but the mother's eyes looked past the flames, like she was still looking for her. Then I saw someone the world adored, a celebrity still dressed in glamour. On earth, she turned her story into a trophy, told the world she was brave for sharing it. "It was the best decision of my life," she told talk shows. She wore her sin like a badge, encouraging others to do the same. "Don't apologize for taking control of your body," she said. In hell, her fans were her torment. Faces of young girls surrounded her, each one saying, "I did it because of you." Their voices echoed not with blame but with pain. Her makeup melted, her fame faded, but their voices never stopped. Then came the teenager. She didn't choose hell. She didn't even understand what she was doing. She believed what the school counselor told her, that it was just a clump of cells, that she'd thank herself later. I saw her lying in a cold clinic bed, numb, confused, alone. No one had told her that what was inside her had a heartbeat. No one had told her the truth. In hell, she wasn't in flames, she was in darkness, surrounded by silence, her hands shaking, whispering, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" And those words cut deeper than any scream. Next was a doctor, logical, respected. He had performed hundreds of procedures and had convinced himself he was helping people. "I'm providing a service," he once said. "A necessary one." He stopped believing in souls, stopped seeing patients as anything more than cases. But in hell, he was forced to see every soul he had separated from its body, one by one, not with anger but with sorrow. And he couldn't look away. The faces surrounded him, and every time he blinked there were more. And finally me. I was the woman who thought God would understand. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't rebellious. I was scared, pressured, confused. I told myself I'd make it right later. I told myself God knew my heart. And I believed that. Until the moment I stood face to face with the weight of it all. In hell there are no justifications, only truth. And the truth broke me. But what I saw, what I felt, what I heard, it didn't leave me there. Came back. Not to live like I used to, but to tell you this. Comment there. That makes sense to me. If you stayed with me until now, thank you. Truly. I know this wasn't easy to hear. It wasn't easy to say either. But sometimes what's hard to face is exactly what we need in order to wake up. If this story spoke to you, even in just one part, consider subscribing. Not because of an algorithm, but because these stories matter. Because someone needs to say what others are afraid to say. And if you've made it all the way here, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you all the way." That way, I'll know you're one of the few still listening, still feeling, still open. And if you felt a connection here, a moment of truth or clarity, a like on this video lets me know it reached you. That it wasn't just noise in the dark. Now there's another story waiting right there in the next video. It goes even deeper into what we've just uncovered. Click on it. and continue with me there.